Are you Mrs. Cusack?
Yes, I am.
Would you go to the microphone so I can talk to you for a minute? Are you going to get a lawyer for your son?
I can't afford one.
Do you work?
Yes, part-time.
What about the husband?
My husband's dead.
I see. You've had problems with this young man, haven't you?
Yes, since his father's died.
When did his father die?
He'll be 3 years in January.
So just 3 years ago, he started with auto theft as a juvenile?
Right.
Right? Obstructing an officer?
Right.
Possession of a controlled substance? Criminal damage to property? Operating auto without owner's consent? And possession of malt beverage by a minor. Is that right?
Right.
And these are the times he was caught.
Yes.
Can you imagine what he's done where he wasn't caught?
I hate to think of what he's done.
Yes. And now it's robbery. So he's no longer in kiddie land.
Right.
He's in a man's court. Get over to the microphone, you. John, you're in a man's court. You're charged with robbery, as I told you. You could get 10 years. I'll appoint a lawyer for you. Give him the oath.
Right here.
Appoint the public defender. Based on this record of criminal activity, the last 2 years, $5,000 bail.
September 27, day 30, intake court.
Have you ever gone to a boys' school?
A boy's home, you mean?
School. I mean, where, did you ever go to Wales or?
I was in DT.
You went out to the detention home, right? For how long?
3 weeks.
3 weeks, but then you were released, right? Sure. You've never been sentenced to a jail, in other words. We're going to try to get you there now. Take them away.
Milwaukeeans are no different than any other people. They all want a good, I think somebody who's firm and fair.
I believed in those harsh sentences he hands out.
Law and order.
They're tough.
As for law and order,
He's all right. You know, he lays down the law, and he doesn't like to see it get loose like it's been happening lately.
I think he's not strict enough.
Your record isn't too bad. It's just that you drink too much.
Yes, sir.
You do have an operating auto without owner's consent.
Yes,
You
sir.
have a battery.
Yes, sir.
Did I send you to jail for 6 months back in 1972?
No, 1971, the House of Correction, Franklin, Wisconsin.
Did I send you out there for 6 months?
Yes, sir.
Sure. It had to be me. Who else would give you 6 months?
Nobody, because they'd be afraid I'd kill them.
Except me.
Except you.
Right.
He doesn't putz around with anybody, and he just gives you the works if you need it. We need more like him. I think the world of them, and it's too bad we don't have more of them. Those others are a bunch of pansies.
I'm in favor of getting those guys off the street, and Judge Seraphim is the type of guy who gets them off the street. I took a poll in my classes. I'm a teacher. And a poll was overwhelming in favor of Judge Seraphim and judges that would get a little tough instead of some of these molly-collared judges.
What is it?
Could I be released to go to work?
Well, to put up the bail, sir, you may.
Could I get on a recondance file?
No way. Not with the record you have, sir. Somebody is going to put a halt to your activity in this community. Will you explain to him what the rules are, Mr. Terrace?
I think it's just the way you presented.
There's no question. I may send him to jail. And if I'm scaring him, so be it. I scare many a defendant. Take him back.
25,000?
Yes, 25,000.
Oh,
Okay.
Your Honor, like I'm a family man and I'm
I know.
unemployed right now.
But you're also, according to this, and I have found probable cause, a peddler of heroin.
I'm not.
I know you're not. But it says here that you are. This is low bail for a heroin peddler. $25,000. You asked me to reconsider, I'm going to make it 50,000, that is.
You're all for the poor criminal defendant. If we just give him a hot meal and a clean bed, you know, he won't commit these horrible crimes until it hits home. Then you say, hang the SOB. Now, they're going to scream when they hear this. Aha, he wants to take away the people's rights. Well, I'm tired of this confrontation, daily confrontation, because we're not free. We're prisoners. We're prisoners in our homes, in our automobiles, in our offices. where we have to be guarded.
Late at night, young colored girl walking down the street, she approaches her with a knife, puts her to her neck, and demands her money, and then viciously scars her on the arm, cuts her, maiming her, disfiguring her. And then she says, I did it because I was sniffing and snorting cocaine. She says she's a good mother, but the children were at home. With who? With some boyfriend, Sheldon. What do you mean, a good mother? And by the way, the two illegitimate children are by two different fathers. Well, this is a dangerous offense. As Mr. Gingrich pointed out, her remorse is only self-serving because she knows she committed a vicious offense. The victim will long suffer because of the attack by this young, irresponsible lady, and therefore, Miss Perkins, it's the sentence of this court that you be punished by confinement in the Wisconsin State Prison, with the Wisconsin State Prison at Taycheedah being designated as the reception center to which you shall be delivered by the sheriff for a term of 7 years.
The public has a right to tell the judges and all other servants who are elected by the public how they want their government to be run, within the law, of course. So if they're not satisfied, I think they should be ousted, those who are not satisfying the public demands. And the argument will come back and say, well, we shouldn't be swayed by emotion or passion. Well, darn it, that's how people are elected. That's how we elect a president and a governor and a senator, by their feelings and prejudices and all the other things that enter into a person's character. When I get a hardened criminal, I think you have to treat him as you would a contagious disease. You isolate him. And this is the job of the judge, to be able to look a man in the eye and say, you're going to jail, fella. We're pulling the pin on you. That's all. We've had it. Because I've lived in Milwaukee 725 months. I was born just 2 blocks from here. Spent most of my life 6 blocks from here. I haven't gone very far in life. I'm down here on 8th and State Street, 18 years now and 5 months as a criminal court judge. That's all I've been doing. And well, hell, I'm not a square, and I'm not a guy who's going to sit back and I long for the good old days, but the good old days were sort of good in a way. We were hungrier, but we were able to leave the screen door or the house door open with the screen door latch, possibly, leave our keys in our automobile, sleep on the slope of a hill on a hot summer night at Juneau Park or Washington Park. You can't do that in Milwaukee anymore. And I long for those days. And that's what's kept me on this job, I guess. They're not going to get the best of me.
We've tried tens of thousands of cases in this courtroom, sir, over a period of 18 years. And I've only had one other defendant who acted as you did. And you know where he wound up? He's in Waupun right now for 28 years after a jury found him guilty.
He also ended up on the floor when you kicked him in his face. You did kick him in his face, didn't you?
Kicked who?
You kicked James Wilkes in his face. When the police had him handcuffed and threw him down the floor, you came inside the bullpen and kicked him in his face. First you spit.
Well, I don't know where you're getting your information from, sir.
I was on the same the tier when they had put him
all right,
down the hole.
I can see that I'm going to have trouble with this man. I'm not going to permit him to defend himself. Bailiff, up there. He's not going to defend himself. Mr. Goldberg, you're assigned to defend him. Now, we only have one choice. Does he remain in the courtroom, bound and gagged, or will he listen to the proceedings from an adjoining room with a loudspeaker in there?
Seraphim had widespread support, but he was not without enemies.
Do you want to stay in the courtroom bound and gagged, or do you want to go into the anteroom where you can hear and follow the proceedings there?
Well, What I'd like to do is go before a judge where I can get a fair trial.
You have just found out, Mr. Rush, that you cannot overcome. Take him away. If convicted, sir, you could be jailed up to 20 years. And the reason it's 20 years, in this case, sir, the last legislature in its wisdom decided to toughen up on criminal penalties. So they reduced the penalty for armed robbery from 30 years to 20 years. And I indict that state legislature that did this to the people of the state of Wisconsin as having contributed somewhat to the continuing spiraling crime rate that we have in this and other communities of the United States. The object of every trial is this: not a search for error, but a search for truth. And that's what this court is dedicated to. That's the judicial credo by which I am governed. And I could care less about the legalistics of lawyers who defend the defendants in this court. And with that, I will say good night to you. Don't forget your instructions tomorrow morning. And you, Mr. Goldberg, and you, Mr. Klinkowitz.
I take it you're denying the motion.
Your Honor, could I at least hear what question he's talking about?
He said he doesn't know.
I am speaking about the testimony of Mr. Holland, and specifically when you interrupted and made him answer, or you suggested, I believe, an answer that he pinned down an identification in the event, yes, I was sure.
Well, I said either you are or you're not. I remember that.
Right.
What is your... Oh, forget it.